My name is Michael Hunt, or Mike. I'm a VTuber, or I guess if you want to be more specific, a PNG tuber. I stream on Twitch, although my streaming schedule is a bit all over the place. I sort of stream when I want, and I stream a variety of games, mostly just what I feel like in the moment. Sometimes I'll play full-length JRPGs, other times I'll play a visual novel, and then other times yet I'll play a short little platformer game or something along those lines. So it's a wide variety of games I'll play.
Why the name Michael Hunt and Zach?
I guess this is quite a funny story. They are both for a very different reason. Both Michael, or Michael Hunt, and Snack. Snack was my first name, I guess. I changed it from an old username, like my very first username, because I wanted to, you know, move somewhere else in my life. I wanted to try something different. And when I used to change username a lot, I would do so without really telling people. Oftentimes it would come as a result of me just like disappearing and then coming back, and then I'd have a different name. I wouldn't like hide the fact that it was me, but I would just have a different name, so people wouldn't know, you know, that it was me off the bat until I told them. And people would often speculate that my names would come from all sorts of weird stuff, where Snack was actually, you know, quite easily because I just like desserts and snacks and candy and stuff like that. So in some situations, because it was like the joke meme at the time, I would add McOverlord to it, so it would be like Snack McOverlord. Because oftentimes Snack was taken on like websites and in games and stuff like that as usernames. I don't really do that anymore. I stick to just Snack when for the people who know me as Snack. Michael Hunt came much later. Well, I guess much later is a bit of an exaggeration. It came later. I was originally Mike Hunt, and it came into existence because a group of friends were watching movies on Twitch, or I guess just in TV at the time, long before Discord was even a thing. And we would joke with the guy hosting the movie night with stupid names, you know, Mike Hunt, Bend Over, stuff like that. And then somewhat recently, around I guess 2023 or 2024, I got reported, and Twitch permanently banned me for my username, because it was quotation mark doxing a real life person, you know, Michael, I guess. And then when I appealed and I got unbanned, they forced name changed me along with it. And I originally changed it to Mike Junt with a J instead, but I didn't really like how it looked, and you know, people were also mucking me because it was like a poor imitation of what it used to be. So I switched to Michael, and then I've just stuck with that ever since. I don't really stick with one username everywhere. I sort of switch between usernames a lot. So there's not really one place where everyone knows me as like one thing. Every time I play some sort of game or something, I'll have something new up my sleeve with like a name, and Steam is a different name, and everything just has like a different username. It's just something that I like to do.
What made you choose a crow as your persona?
So I guess a better question is what my current persona for streaming actually is. But when I first started streaming more seriously, I used Hata no Kokoro from Toho. And then eventually I drew very minimalistic dog face that I would use, and I used that for a while together with the Kokoro, and then I saw some art on Twitter, which is where most of my inspiration for new smaller avatars come from, and I saw a cute crow in it, and I was like, you know what, I'll try to draw a crow as well and use that. And it was gonna be way more than what it ended up just being. It was gonna have like more animations and stuff like that, but due to time constraints I never got around to doing it. And then since then I've just used random ones, like different things that I find funny at the time, and I just use it for a while. And it sort of just depends on my mood on which ones I'll use. And then we still do the collabs with me and Choco, Ember, Shu, and CB sometimes. I used to draw a lot of art for it. I still tend to try to draw art when we get a full group and stuff like that. And this is where this current avatar is from, because I drew these cardboard-like avatars for everyone, and this is where I am now. But I think one of the overlapping themes, one of the things that you know, you see a lot in my avatars is the animals. I like animals a lot, and I also like little guys, so there's a lot of themes around that that show up in my avatars as well.
Who was the first VTuber you came across?
Okay, so before I got involved with VTubers at all, I was in a lot of like art circles, or like circles with artists in them. I hung around quite a lot of big artist discords with a lot of big names, and there's one of them where I eventually got hounded out by one of the moderators who disliked me, and then some friends that I had made in that Discord, they all left in like solidarity, and then we made a Discord server together. And then in this new Discord server, there was a VTuber channel where they discussed and talked about VTubers, which I didn't really, it wasn't something that ever really, I guess I had like struck upon like a VTuber once or twice in the past, but it hadn't really struck me as something that I was interested in too much. So I think I instantly muted the channel and I didn't really interact with it. But around the time that HoloEN, the English branch of HoloLive, actually started, which had people like Ina and Mori in it, I joined in on the discussion because Ina interested me, because obviously it was like an artist VTuber, and she stated she was going to do a lot of drawing on stream and stuff like that. I couldn't really get into it because I felt like it was too big. I don't really like when streams get too big, because it feels like you're not there. Like, to me it feels like there's sort of like a gap between the person you're watching and the community. In some cases there's not. Like, in some cases even big streamers are able to interact with their community quite well, but in like HoloLive's situation, that's what it felt like. So I started looking for alternatives. I used Twitch before, before I actually started watching VTubers at all. So I kind of knew what Twitch was like. So that's what I used to look for VTubers, and I found this girl called Mofu Aki, Mofu underscore Aki, and I watched her a lot at the time. She was quite fun. She was Japanese VTuber, and I didn't really interact much with the chat at all at the time. I sort of just watched and lurked. And it wasn't really until I started watching Svinka that I really started interacting with people in and around the VTuber circle. So I guess there's like 4 answers to this. There's like, did I watch a VTuber before I got in, before I started watching HoloEN? Yeah, I think I saw a few VTubers back then. Then there's HoloEN, where I started watching Ina. Mofuaki was the first one that sort of got me into actually watching VTubers as a whole, but Savinka was like the first VTuber that I watched that got me into interacting with the whole community as a whole.
Were they the VTuber that inspired you to become one?
I think what inspired me was a mix of a lot of different things. When I first started streaming, so like when I did streams at all on my Twitch, I was just faceless, no avatar, no webcam, not even my voice. I literally just had the game going. I feel like everyone has that phase on Twitch where your friend is like, oh, at least back then, your friend is like, oh, can you stream your game? And Discord didn't really have that simple quick streaming, so everyone turned to, okay, I'll stream on Twitch. And so you started streaming on Twitch for your friends to see, but I feel like when you start adding a voice to the mix, which is what I ended up doing eventually. It's also nice having like a character or like a face that you can associate the voice of it with. At least that's my opinion. I know that there are some that don't share that opinion, but I don't think everyone needs it. I have watched streamers myself that just literally have a mic, no avatar or anything, but I just think that it makes the experience easier to digest when there's like a character you can quotation mark talk to, or like a person that is like the face of the voice that you communicate with, and I guess the reason why I started streaming the way that I did recently was to improve upon my people skill, because I'd sort of fallen off of it all. It became harder for me to speak, so I wanted to talk to people again, and I found that one way I could do that was by streaming, because then people would pop in, they would ask questions, they would talk and stuff like that, talk about their day, and I would talk to them and stuff like that. And then in order to talk more and give people more things to ask about, or an easier way for them to communicate with me, I would have a character that would make them talk to me better, or have an easier time talking to me. And I think every VTuber around me are all people that have given me the inspiration to do that. I don't think it's like one specific VTuber. I think like everyone, like CV, Ember, Choco, Shu, like so on, all of the VTubers, I think, have shown me that, you know, giving people a character to talk to improves the experience. At least for me, I know that there are people who don't mind that, but for me, having like a character to talk to improves that experience, and I wanted to give that experience to other people as well, so they had someone they could talk to, and I could talk to them as well, which, you know, helped me just as much as it would help them have someone to talk to.
What made you be a VTuber over a webcam or faceless streamer?
So I guess I already sort of went over, you know, being faceless, but why I didn't choose to be a webcam streamer is a good question, because I guess for the last question, my criteria was like, you know, you need a character to speak to, as opposed to, you know, being faceless, and a webcam also adds that element, right? It adds a character that you can interact with and associate the voice with, but I think webcam takes a lot more effort in creating like a welcoming environment, because if you look down or sad, that feeling will generally spread along your chat, or, you know, people in your chat or viewers that come by, you know, they'll be like, oh, you don't really look like you enjoy the game, or is something wrong? You look down, or whatever, right? And I think at the time there was a lot of things, you know, sort of on my mind. So I think I would have had a lot of questions regarding how I felt, and so that was something I wanted to avoid. And I think I'm fine with just, you know, being you know, that image on the screen, rather than my full avatar, having to make sure that, you know, everything looks fine and stuff like that. I'm fine with just, you know, streaming at my own pace, and then, you know, whatever I have on the screen, you know, it brings like a sort of funny mix to it as well. Having like any creature that you can see, or any sort of little weird animal talking to you, rather than you know, the actual me. I don't think there's anything wrong with people, you know, caring about how you feel, or stuff like that. I think that, you know, it's obviously a really nice thing that people come in and they're like asking if you're okay or something's wrong. I think that's really nice. But sometimes, at least at the time when I started streaming, a lot of it was like escapism, streaming to just sort of get away and not remember what had happened, and just like trying to you know, get better about life and stuff like that, and all that. So having people come in and ask questions like, oh, are you doing okay, is everything fine, it sort of adds to like the wounds, right? It sort of like reopens them, or reminds you of what's like happened, because you have to be like, oh no, everything's fine, stuff like that, right? And I didn't really want to deal with that at the time.
Do you have any favorite VTubers?
Oh, absolutely. I'm pretty picky about the VTubers I watch. I look for a lot of different things when I try to find people to watch. I find that I have pretty sensitive ears, so a nice voice is a good start. And I usually watch VTubers to like calm down or relax, so I generally tend to not watch VTubers that scream or are loud. But not to say that I don't find those funny. I find those quite funny as well, and I find the experiences they bring as well are quite funny. And I like a good or unique avatar. It doesn't need to be like a $10,000 avatar, as long as it's nice. Because I've watched multiple VTubers who use that free Omori style avatar. I think that's like a really nice avatar for it being free. And I like variety in game choice. I like when people play different games. I'm not too fond of like people playing, you know, the same game over and over again. That I mean, it's not that it's a problem. It's just not my style. I like seeing like different games, different challenges, stuff like that. Um, I've also previously come to like VTubers that I generally tuned out of, like VTubers that I used to not really want to watch, but now I watch them more. ChocoJax is a good example for that. When I first was introduced to ChocoJax through Ember, I would tune out from her streams a lot because it was like the complete opposite from Ember. Like Ember was like this, very very quiet type, and then going into Choco's streams, it was like complete opposite, where her streams were very loud and very active. But I'm not sure I would like to list my favorites because I don't want people to think, oh, am I not your favorite? Am I not one of your favorite VTubers? But most likely, if I follow you and I watch you actively, like I chat in your chat and stuff like that, you are one of my favorite VTubers.
How difficult was it for you to start VTubing?
It wasn't hard for me at all. People are obviously different, so I understand why some people don't want to get into VTubing without like a good avatar or have like everything set up well or stuff like that. But for me, I'm happy with like simple or free or whatever. So I just got something that I was fine with, and then I just went into it. Obviously, I do want to eventually get something more serious going. Not because I want to, get more serious in streaming, but just because I like the idea of it. But I do generally want things like for free stuff. Before I do that, I do generally want things I make myself. And I don't want to switch to live 2D or something 3D just to have like a live 2D model, even if it's free. I don't really want to do that. I'd rather just stick with like these funny PNG tuber style things where it's like very simple but very fun.
Why do you like Petstram so much?
It's just a joke, friends of mine, they use it a lot. We use it a lot together at each other, so I don't remember what my about me was before, about this Panscrap. But it's just like a funny joke that it's funny to say whenever someone says something. You just reply with Panscrap. I think that's just like a funny response thing.
What can you tell us about the game you're making?
I actually forgot that my description or bio or whatever had that. I switch between the things I want to make a lot. So right at the time when I put that, the thing I was working on was a Yumaniki fan game taking place in a hospital. I think it was during a war, and then you entered patient's dream during night inside the hospital, and you would like that's basically the part of it. I also have an RPG I'm sort of working on, but I don't know what I will and won't finish. I do want to finish it, but I don't know if I actually ever will.
What's the progress on your game?
Oh, it's bad. The progress on my game is bad. They're both very early stages. I barely have anything.
What are your favorite roguelikes and roguelites?
That's a very tough question. I like over the top roguelikes, like one where you can have a build that just like snowballs out of control. I played a lot of them. And sometimes when developers make roguelike or roguelites, they tend to try to hold back a little on that, so you can't snowball as hard, or you can't like end up with a build that just like destroys everything. They make these builds or they make like a game where the builds look good on paper or look cool, but then in practice, when you actually try them, they end up being too safe, or there's not really a whole lot going on in reality. You don't you just sort of, it's more like you play like a trading card game but single player. I don't really like that. I'd rather have like super crazy things going on, because that's what makes the funny gameplay actually feel rewarding in that regard. I think Slay the Spire is good at balancing in that regard. When you look at the cards, or when you look at the builds, a lot of them can look weak, just from the way you just from looking at them. But then when you actually play the game, and when you actually make those builds, when they like really come online, they actually end up like being crazy, and they actually end up like carrying and becoming those over the top builds. So I think Slay the Spire does a really good job for that. For roguelikes, I like traditional roguelikes as well. I'm a big CDDA fan, Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead. I love starting in the underground research facility. One of the things you can do in there is you walk around going full mutation builds by picking up all the mutation stuff and mutating your character. I found it after a streamer I watched a long time ago was playing it on stream. Caves of Cud is another very enjoyable one for similar reasons. Both the fact that you have the traditional roguelike stuff, but other reasons as well. I used to run a NetHack pause screen on my PC, so whenever I would leave my PC for a long period of time, it would just play NetHack on itself. I've also played a bunch of other ones. Some of the, I guess, more recent ones in like the past maybe year or so is Peklin, Lost Branch of Legends, Shape of Dreams, Winnie's Hole, Bolex Pit, many of that style. And while I do really like deck builders, I don't mind the ones that aren't deck builders, as long as they have fun and interesting archetypes and playstyles, and if they do that over the top thing, that's a big plus. Right now, I'm playing the flavor of the month ones, Slay the Spire 2 and Mutagenics. And then for the future, I'm looking forward to one called Kinney and the Cosmic Cauldron, Ultrapool, Ploink, both of which are ones that end up getting super over the top. And then Bolex Pit has been announcing a bunch of new updates as well, which I'm excited for too.
What games inspire your design of the one you're making?
So for the Yumeniki fan game, I think basically all of the fan games that I've played over the years have helped inspire it. I like when a game manages to make like a world feel unique and interesting to explore, like when it gives you a reason to look around for things, even if the things that you look at don't have any effect or changes anything on the game. Just the fact that it gives you a reason to look around for it makes it very interesting. I think LSD Dream Emulator is a given for that reason as well. I think Soda Raptor and Bryce Butcher's games are ones that are super inspiring to me. For the dream element and the looking around and being inspired by a world that sort of has things just to look at. For the RPG, I think generally just any JRPG I've played is inspiring to what I want to do in that. And I played a pretty recent one called Labyrinth of Toho, which is really good, and it actually reawakened my interest to finish the RPG, and I might use elements from that game in it as well.
What about witches and masks do you like?
Oh god, those are two very different things that I like for two very different reasons. So Witches are partly because of their hats. I think whenever people draw witches, they give them really cool hats because a large part of a witch feels like their identity lies in their, big, cool witch hat. Then obviously comes the question, why not mages or wizards? They can also have cool hats. But I think another part of it is like the magic that you associate with witches is you usually lean into evil or dark in some description, which I think is really cool. It doesn't have to be that way all the time, but it usually tends to be. I like masks because they're used historically to create like a feel of fear by creating like masks of monsters or of things that sort of look scary, and I think it still sort of acts that way. We have like Halloween masks that are used to show faces of famous monsters or like creatures from movies and stuff like that people use. They help mask feelings while showing a different side. I think they also have had a historically and cultural different meaning across the entire world for different cultures, but they are always used in like theater in some description all around the world, and I think hopefully both of these elements can be seen in my aforementioned future VTuber design if I ever finish it.
What about webcore do you like?
Oh, definitely the nostalgia, for sure. I enjoy like the feel of it, and I think it's funny how like over the top and excessive it is. Where modern design has turned to a more minimalistic side on a lot of things. I think the way webcore is or was very maximalistic, where things had to have the most excessive way or roundabout way to be shown, and you had like all of these effects and stuff just going on everywhere. And I think that's like a really funny stuff, really funny thing to have.
Without doxing yourself, if you're comfortable sharing, what kind of work do you do?
I actually work with web development. Funny, since this is the last question, but I work with web development. I'm a front-end developer working for a green energy firm.
Do you have any content plans you'd like to share?
So unfortunately, my content sort of just comes suddenly. I don't really have many, plans for the future. I've already mentioned, if it was even a plan, I've already mentioned my possible future VTuber design. But other than that, most of what I do sort of just comes impulsively. So if I do anything, if I stream anything, all of that, it sort of just appears randomly to me, and then I'm like, oh, that might be a good idea, or that might be a fun idea, let me do that. So I don't really have like anything specific that I could be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be doing this at some point. I usually have days or like days of the year where I try to always do something. Like there's always my birthday, there's always my anniversary. I try to always have something for April 1st because it's like funny to have like a day where you can do whatever funny, silly stuff you want to do, and people don't really pay it any mind, even though sometimes I do that regardless. But stuff like that.
Do you have any goals you'd like to share?
I'd like to work more on the redeems I have on my channel. I recently ChocoJax has started doing more work on her own redeems, and that sort of started my interest in making putting more work into my redeems as well. So I guess that's like a goal that I have for my channel. But another similarly to last question, I don't really like setting goals for my channel because I sort of just do the streaming thing. It's sort of just like a something I'm doing because I enjoy it. I like it. It helps me get better at talking and stuff like that. So, but I wouldn't say, getting better at talking is necessarily a goal from streaming, because I feel like I've already sort of reached that over the past period. Obviously, that doesn't mean that I'm going to stop, because it's good to keep that going, but it's not like it's like a future goal for me anymore.
Do you have any miscellaneous information you'd like to share?
No, I don't. I don't really have any other information. I'm glad I could join in on this.
Thank you for allowing me to interview you. Who should I interview next?
I think Chocojax would make a good interview target, actually, and I think she'd be happy to join in too. She's partaken in a few similar interview style things, so she's had her fair share of experience as well. So I think she could make a good interview target, and I think she could probably be quite fun to talk to as well, and has a lot of experience in the circle. She's been going for a really long time, and she's interacted with a lot of people, so I think she could be a really good person to talk with about all of this as well.